The dismissal of the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from 12 advanced species gathered for an emergency session. The crystal towers of the orbital station gleamed against the backdrop of distant stars. But inside, fear dominated the air. Captain Jake Rivers stood at the human delegation table, his weathered face calm despite the hostile glares directed at him. Beside him, Dr. Maria Santos clutched her datapad, filled with calculations that the other species had already dismissed. The approaching dark matter storm will destroy everything in its path, announced Elder Vex of the Ultron Empire, his 6 arms gesturing dramatically. Our most advanced civilizations have only days before complete annihilation. The Theran representative, a tall being with silver skin, stepped forward. Our quantum shields have failed. Our plasma weapons are useless. Even our reality-bending technology cannot stop this cosmic force. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. These were species that had mastered faster-than-light travel, controlled black holes, and reshaped entire star systems. Yet, they faced something beyond their comprehension. Jake cleared his throat. "If I may, silence, primitive," hissed Commander Rax of the Helix Confederation. "Your species barely left its home planet 3 centuries ago. What could you possibly contribute?" The other delegates nodded in agreement. Humanity was the newest member of the Galactic Council, accepted only because of their unusual persistence and strange ability to survive impossible situations. Most species viewed them as barely evolved apes who had stumbled upon space travel. "Our calculations show," Dr. Santos began. "Your calculations?" Elder Vex's laugh was bitter. "You use basic mathematics while we manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Your technology is crude metal and simple circuits compared to our bioorganic neural networks." Jake watched the panic spread among the delegates. The storm was approaching fast, and their advanced technologies had proven worthless. Ships were exploding, entire fleets vanishing into the dark energy that consumed everything it touched. "We have one proposal," Jake said quietly. The chamber fell silent, more from shock than respect. The idea that humans might have a solution seemed absurd to beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. "We evacuate to the outer rim," Jake continued. "Use old-fashioned chemical propulsion and basic life support. Ride out the storm in simple metal hulls." The silence stretched for long moments before erupting into laughter. The sound echoed off the chamber walls, a mixture of disbelief and mockery. "Chemical propulsion?" wheezed the Theran delegate. "We abandoned such primitive methods before your ancestors discovered fire. Metal hulls?" Commander Rax's voice dripped with contempt. "Our ships are made of living matter that adapts to any threat. Your suggestion is not just primitive, it's suicidal." Jake remained calm. "The storm feeds on complex energy patterns. Advanced technology draws it like a magnet. But simple, basic systems might be invisible to it." "Impossible," Elder Vex declared. "We have science beyond your comprehension. If our methods cannot work, yours certainly cannot." Dr. Santos stepped forward, her voice steady despite the hostility. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. Our ancestors survived ice ages and asteroid impacts with basic tools and determination." "Your ancestors were animals," spat the Helix delegate. "We are gods compared to your species." The chamber erupted in agreement. Advanced holographic displays showed the storm's approach, its dark tendrils reaching across star systems. Every sophisticated defense had failed. Every high-tech solution had been consumed by the cosmic horror. "You have hours to find a real solution," Jake said calmly. "When you're ready to listen to wisdom instead of worshiping complexity, we'll be here." The human delegation left the chamber amid jeers and insults. As they walked through the stations corridors, Maria shook her head. They won't listen until it's too late. Maybe, Jake replied. But humans have a saying, pride comes before the fall. And right now, their pride might destroy them all. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their desperate search for a high-tech miracle, dismissing the simple solution that might save everyone. The storm grew closer, and time was running out. The greatest civilizations in the galaxy were about to learn that sometimes the most advanced answer was the simplest one. And sometimes the species they looked down upon possessed the wisdom that could save them all. The dark matter storm hit the outer colonies first. Captain Jake Rivers watched the reports flood in from the human observation post, each message more desperate than the last. Colony 77 is gone, reported Lieutenant Tom Radley, his voice tight with tension. The entire system just vanished. The main screen showed the storm's approach, a wall of absolute darkness that consumed everything in its path. Stars winked out like candles in a hurricane. Entire civilizations disappeared without even sending distress signals. On the Galactic Council station, panic had replaced arrogance. The same species that had mocked humanity days earlier now scrambled desperately for solutions. Deploy the quantum barriers, shouted Elder Vex, his 6 arms flailing as he commanded the Alteron fleet. Full power to reality anchors. The response was immediate and terrible. The advanced shields that had protected the Alteron Empire for 1,000 years lasted exactly 37 seconds against the storm. The quantum energy they generated seemed to feed the darkness, making it stronger and hungrier. Commander Rax tried next, launching the Helix Confederation's bioships living vessels that could adapt to any threat. The organic hulls began changing. As they approached the storm, growing new defenses and morphing into configurations designed to survive, they lasted 43 seconds. The Theran delegate activated their reality-bending technology, trying to fold space itself to deflect the storm. The exotic matter generators hummed with power that could reshape star systems. The storm consumed them like a snack, growing visibly larger as it fed on the high-energy emissions. "Nothing works," screamed the Helix representative. "Every weapon, every shield, every defense, it eats them all." Jake stood in the human section of the station, watching the destruction through basic telescopes and simple radio equipment. While other species relied on quantum sensors and dimensional scanners, humans used tools that their ancestors might have recognized. "Sir," said Dr. Maria Santos, checking her calculations on a mechanical calculator, "the storm's energy signature shows it's drawn to complex technological emissions. The more advanced the technology, the stronger the attraction." "Just like we thought," Jake nodded. "It's not malevolent, it's just hungry, and we've been feeding it a feast." The station shuddered as the storm's influence reached them. Around the humans, exotic technologies began failing. Artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Holographic displays flickered and died. The bioorganic walls of the station started dissolving, but in the human section, simple LED lights still glowed. Basic life support systems continued functioning. Mechanical pumps kept air circulating while everyone else's environmental systems collapsed. "How are your systems still working?" demanded Elder Vex, bursting into the human area as his own section lost power. "Basic electricity and simple machines," Jake replied. "The storm doesn't seem to notice them." More delegates fled to the human section as their advanced quarters became uninhabitable. The proud species that had dismissed humanity now huddled around basic heaters and breathed air from mechanical filters. "This is impossible," muttered the Theran delegate. "Your primitive technology should be the first to fail." "Should be," agreed Dr. Santos. "But it's not. The storm feeds on complex energy patterns, quantum fluctuations, dimensional rifts, bioneural networks. Our simple systems are basically invisible to it." The main screen, now powered by a basic video feed instead of quantum displays, showed. The storm's continued advance. Fleets of the most advanced ships in the galaxy were being consumed, their exotic technologies making them irresistible targets. "We need to evacuate," Jake said firmly. "Every ship, every station, every colony. Get people into basic vessels with simple life support." "Impossible," Elder Vex's voice cracked. "We have billions of citizens. Our evacuation ships are all bioorganic or quantum enhanced. They'll be destroyed instantly. Then we use our ships," Jake replied. "Human vessels. Basic metal hulls, chemical propulsion, simple life support. They're not pretty, but they might be invisible to the storm." The chamber fell silent except for the grinding of mechanical air recyclers. The idea of abandoning their advanced technology, their pride and accomplishment, was almost unthinkable. "You're asking us to become primitives," whispered the Helix delegate. "I'm asking you to survive," Jake replied. "The storm doesn't care about your achievements. It only cares about the energy you're broadcasting. Every quantum computer, every bioneural network, every reality manipulator is like a beacon calling it to you." Outside, another fleet died in brilliant flashes as their advanced shields fed the hungry darkness. The storm was almost upon them, and time was running out. The greatest civilizations in the galaxy faced a choice: abandon everything that made them advanced, or be consumed by the darkness they couldn't understand. Asterisk. The evacuation began in chaos. Species that had conquered galaxies now fought over seats in human cargo ships, their pride crushed by the reality of their situation. Captain Jake Rivers stood on the bridge of the simple truth, a basic human freighter. That had become the flagship of the strangest fleet in galactic history. Around him, thousands of primitive vessels prepared for the most important journey ever attempted. "Status report," Jake called to his crew. 12,000 ships loaded and ready," reported Lieutenant Tom Bradley. "We've got Alterans crammed into mining vessels, Therans packed into transport ships, and Helix nobles sharing space with cargo containers." On the main screen, the dark matter storm consumed another star system. The wave of destruction was only hours away from the council station. "Sir," called Dr. Maria Santos from her position at a basic navigation console, "the Stellar Pride is trying to activate its quantum engines." Jake grabbed the radio microphone. "Stellar Pride, this is simple truth. Shut down those engines immediately." "This is Elder Vex," came the reply. "My people cannot travel in such primitive conditions. We need our environmental systems. Your environmental systems will kill everyone." "On this evacuation," Jake replied firmly, "the storm is attracted to complex energy signatures. One quantum emission, and you'll draw it straight to the fleet." Through the simple telescope, Jake watched the Alteron ship's bioorganic hull begin to glow with familiar energy patterns. The storm, still light years away, seemed to shift slightly in their direction. "Stellar Pride, shut down now or we'll disable your ship ourselves. You dare threaten the Alteron Empire?" Elder Vex's voice rose in fury. "We ruled this galaxy when your species was still living in caves. And look where that got you," Jake replied. "Tom, prepare the EMP charges." The simple electromagnetic pulse weapons were crude by galactic standards, but they would shut down the advanced systems without harming the basic life support. It was a desperate measure, but desperate times called for desperate actions. "Wait," came another voice over the radio. "This is Commander Rax of the Helix Confederation. We've lost life support. Our bioship is dying." Jake watched through the telescope as the organic vessel began to collapse, its living hull unable to survive. Without complex nutrient systems, hundreds of Helix citizens were trapped inside a dying ship. "Tom, take a rescue team," Jake ordered. Basic suits, simple oxygen supplies. Get those people out. Sir, the Helix considered us barely above animals, Tom protested. They wouldn't. Save us. Maybe not, Jake replied. But we're not them. And right now, we're the only ones who can keep people alive. The rescue took 2 hours. Human crews in basic spacesuits used simple cutting tools to break through the dying bioship's hull. They pulled out Helix citizens who had never seen such primitive equipment, loading them into cargo holds equipped with basic life support. Your suits are made of metal and fabric, whispered a young Helix female as Tom carried her to safety. How do they work? Simple air recyclers and basic heating, Tom replied. Nothing fancy, but they keep you alive. As the evacuation continued, Jake watched the storm's approach. It was moving faster now, feeding on the energy signatures of abandoned cities and derelict fleets. Every piece of advanced technology left behind made it stronger. Jake, called Dr. Santos. We're getting distress signals from the outer colonies. Some people are still trying to use their advanced ships to escape. The main screen showed the results. One by one, the high-tech evacuation vessels were being consumed. Their quantum drives and bioneural networks drew the storm like magnets, ensuring their destruction. Open a channel to all frequencies, Jake ordered. This is the human fleet to all survivors. If you want to live, you need to abandon your advanced technology. Basic ships only. Simple life support. No quantum systems, no bioorganics, no reality. Manipulators. The response was immediate and desperate. Across the galaxy, the survivors of the greatest civilizations began making the hardest choice of their lives. They abandoned their biocities, their quantum palaces, their dimensional mansions. They climbed into primitive metal boxes with basic air recyclers and simple gravity generators. It's working, reported Tom. The storm is ignoring the simple ships. It's like we're invisible to it. Jake nodded, but his expression remained grim. They had saved thousands, but millions more had refused to abandon their technology. The storm was consuming entire sectors, and there was nothing they could do for those who couldn't let go of their pride. Set course for the outer rim, Jake ordered. Basic navigation, simple propulsion. We're going to ride this storm out the old-fashioned way. Behind them, the storm consumed the council station, its advanced systems providing a feast of complex energy. The age of high technology was ending, and the age of simple survival had begun. 3 months into the exodus, the refugee fleet drifted in the empty space between galaxies. The dark matter storm raged behind them, consuming the civilizations they had left behind, while ahead lay only the cold void of intergalactic space. Captain Jake Rivers walked through the cramped corridors of the Simple Truth, checking on the passengers who had once ruled the galaxy. In cargo holds converted to living spaces, former emperors and cosmic princes learned to live like humans had for centuries. The water recyclers are working perfectly, reported Dr. Maria Santos, checking her mechanical gauges. Basic filtration. Systems, simple pumps. Nothing fancy, but they keep us alive. Jake nodded, then stopped at a makeshift classroom where something remarkable was happening. Lieutenant Tom Bradley was teaching a group of Alteron children how to repair basic machinery using simple tools. The key is understanding that complexity isn't always better, Tom explained, showing them how to fix a mechanical air filter. Sometimes, the simplest solution is the most reliable. Elder Vex watched from the doorway, his 6 arms folded in what Jake had learned was the Alteron equivalent of deep thought. The proud leader who had once commanded biofleets now wore simple human clothing and breathed recycled air. Your species has always understood this, Vex said quietly to Jake. We thought it was primitive ignorance. We were wrong. Not wrong, Jake replied. Just different. You built wonders we could never imagine. But you forgot the basics. In another section of the ship, Commander Rex was working alongside human engineers, learning to maintain the simple systems that kept everyone alive. The Helix. Leader's living armor had been replaced by basic work clothes, and his bioneural implants had been shut down to avoid attracting the storm. "This is fascinating," Rex said, examining a simple electrical circuit. "Your ancestors built machines that could run for decades without maintenance. Our biotechnology requires constant adjustment and feeding." "Different approaches," said the human engineer. "We built things to last because we couldn't always build replacements. You could grow new technology whenever you needed it." "Until now," Rax replied grimly. "Now we must learn to build like you, simple, reliable, permanent." Jake continued his rounds, visiting each section of the converted freighter. In the hydroponics bay, Theran scientists were amazed by basic agriculture. Their reality-bending technology had allowed them to create food from pure energy, but now they were learning to grow actual plants in simple soil. "The seeds contain everything needed for life," whispered a young Theran, watching a tomato plant grow under basic LED lights. No quantum manipulation, no dimensional folding, just life. Dr. Santos joined Jake as he reached the observation deck, where a small crowd had gathered around the simple telescope. Through the basic lens, they could see the storm still raging in the distance, consuming the last remnants of galactic civilization. "Any word from the home colonies?" Jake asked. "Some signals," Maria replied. "Basic radio only. A few outer rim. Settlements survived by shutting down all their advanced systems. They're living like pioneers, but they're alive." "And the others?" "Gone. The core worlds, the great cities, the quantum palaces, all of it. The storm consumed everything with an advanced energy signature." Jake watched the refugees learning to live in the simple quarters. Children who had grown up in bioorganic environments were adapting to metal walls and basic lighting. Adults who had controlled reality itself were learning to fix mechanical equipment with simple tools. "They're adapting faster than I expected," he observed. "Because they have to," Maria replied. "Pride is a luxury they can't afford anymore. They're learning what humans have always known, that survival comes first, and everything else is just decoration." A chime from the basic communication system interrupted their conversation. Jake pressed the mechanical switch to answer. "Captain Rivers," came a voice over the radio. "This is the New Hope. We've found something." Jake looked at the simple radar display. Another ship was approaching a basic human vessel, like their own, but different somehow. "What kind of something?" Jake asked. "Other survivors, sir." "From the inner colonies. They shut down their advanced systems and rode out the storm in simple shelters. They're alive, and they're asking for help." Jake felt a surge of hope. If some had survived in the inner systems, others might have too. The galaxy wasn't entirely lost, just changed. "Set course to rendezvous," Jake ordered. "And Tom, prepare the extra life support systems. We're going to need them." As the fleet changed course, Jake realized that something incredible was happening. The storm hadn't just destroyed the old galaxy. It had forced the survivors to rediscover the wisdom of simplicity. They were becoming something new, something that combined the best of advanced knowledge with the reliability of basic solutions. The age of complexity was ending, but the age of wisdom was just beginning. 2 years after the Great Storm, Jake Rivers stood on the bridge of the new Earth, watching the construction of humanity's first major space station in the Outer Rim. But this wasn't just a human project. It was something unprecedented in galactic history. "The fusion reactors are online," reported Dr. Maria Santos, checking readings on basic but reliable instruments. "Simple design, basic containment, but they'll run for centuries without major maintenance." Around the station, a fleet of simple metal ships worked together. Alteron engineers used basic tools to install human-designed life support systems. Theron scientists applied their knowledge of physics to improve simple gravity generators. Helix workers, their bioimplants long since removed, learned to weld metal with techniques that human ancestors had developed centuries ago. Progress. Report, Jake called to his mixed crew. Agricultural section is complete, reported Tom Bradley, now wearing the uniform of the reformed Galactic Alliance. The Alterons have adapted their biological knowledge to work with simple hydroponics. We'll be able to feed 1 million people with basic farming techniques. The Therans have finished the navigation center, added Commander Rax, his formal titles abandoned for simple ranks. No reality manipulation, no quantum computers. Just basic star charts and mechanical calculators. But they're accurate and reliable. Jake nodded, watching his former enemies work side by side. The crisis had stripped away the artificial divisions between species, revealing the universal truth that survival required cooperation. "Sir," called a young voice. Jake turned to see Alex Chun, a human child who had been born during the Exodus. "The delegation from the inner colonies is arriving." Through the basic telescope, Jake watched as a convoy of simple ships approached the station. These were the survivors who had hidden in the ruins of the old galaxy, learning to live without the advanced technology that had defined their civilizations. "They're requesting permission to join the Alliance," reported the communications officer, a former Helix noble who now operated simple radio equipment. "Granted," Jake replied. "But they follow the same rules as everyone else. Basic technology only. Simple solutions. No exceptions." The docking bay filled with representatives from dozens of species, all wearing simple clothing and carrying basic equipment. They had learned the hard way that complexity was a luxury they couldn't afford. "Welcome to New Haven Station," Jake addressed the crowd. 2 years ago, we were the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Today, we're learning to be the wisest. Elder Vex, now simply called Vex, stepped forward. His 6 arms moved in the Alteron gesture of deep respect. "Captain Rivers, we've come to report that the storm has finally passed. It's moved beyond our galaxy, seeking new sources of complex energy. The question," added a Theran representative, "is what we do now. The old worlds are gone, but the knowledge remains. Do we rebuild the advanced civilizations we lost?" Jake looked around the assembled crowd, former emperors and cosmic princes, scientists and engineers, all united by their shared experience of loss and survival. "We rebuild," he said firmly. "But we rebuild differently. We use our knowledge to create better simple solutions, not more complex ones. We design technology that lasts, not technology that impresses." Dr. Santu stepped forward with a simple tablet showing basic schematics. "We've been working on new designs. Fusion reactors that can run for 1,000 years. Life support systems that never need replacement. Ships that can travel between stars using basic propulsion but lasting for generations. The new Foundation protocols," Jake announced. "Every technology we develop must pass 3 tests. Is it simple enough to understand? Is it reliable enough to trust? Is it durable enough to last?" The crowd murmured approval. They had learned these lessons in the hardest way possible. "But what about progress?" asked a young Helix engineer. "What about advancing beyond our current capabilities?" Jake smiled. "Progress isn't about complexity. It's about improvement. We're going to build a galaxy that's better than the one we lost, not more advanced, but more wise." Over the following months, the new Foundation expanded rapidly. Simple but effective colonies spread across the outer rim. Basic but reliable ships carried trade between the growing settlements. The survivors of the storm's destruction became the builders of something entirely new. The dark matter storm had consumed the most advanced civilizations in galactic history. But from their ashes, something better was rising. A civilization that valued wisdom over complexity, reliability over innovation, and cooperation over competition. Jake stood on the observation deck of New Haven Station, watching the lights of 100 simple ships moving between the stars. They weren't the most advanced vessels ever built, but they were the most human. And in the end, that had made all the difference. The end asterisk.